Sean, let's hear a wee bit from Cyril Desires, who's been speaking about, well, he's talking
Yeah,
about himself and saying this is what you're going to see this season.
Yeah, obviously I'm at a good age right now. 28 is a perfect age where you have like physically you're still at your top level and you gain some experience from the last years. So I think that's a perfect time to play for trophies and to hopefully win some trophies. And of course the mentality of Rangers and which is present at this moment already in the team is clear. And it's clear that I want to be a part of that. And I think I can bring some things, not only like football wise, but also mentality wise in the locker room. And I hope that I can play a role as well in that.
Well,
Paul, it's a great point that the Sayers make, but Sean's just said a couple of minutes ago that Rangers have signed a lot of tall players. They think that could give them an advantage in Europe. I get what Sean's saying, but ultimately, first and foremost, it's about ability. First and foremost,
yeah,
particularly in Europe, and then secondly, Cyril Desires is absolutely right. Mentality, and that's what Rangers have got to show, that they've got that winning mentality. It's not been there for over a year now, since the European final. They had it, to be fair, last summer when they had that mentality to beat Union SG, then beat PSV under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. But since then, when it really comes to it, they've not won a crunch game. Didn't they beat Celtic in any game that mattered, and didn't win a European game after they knocked out PSV? So they've got to go and get that back. That's up to Michael Beale and the players, but it's clearly something that's been discussed inside Ibrox for Cyril Desires to mention. And by the way, I think he spoke very well there. I like the sound of him. But yeah, mentality is so important, Sean. You've got to have the ability, but you've got to have the mentality to go and show that you can be a winner in games that matters. And Rangers in the month of August have got games that absolutely matter to them. And then the first weekend of the season, they've got Celtic coming to Ibrox, so it's massive time for the club.
yeah.
what do you think about Danilo? Barry mentioned on Monday night, look out for another bid. Feyenoord are expecting a second bid from Rangers. They initially rejected the first bid, which we think was around £3.5 million, the Brazilian. Sean, is this music to your ears?
I would say if Rangers hit the 4.55 million, I think Rangers will get him. And let's be honest, there's no many bad Brazilian football players that turn out to not really be that good. So I think Rangers should keep putting on a 1 or 2 mil bids if we get and see what happens. Because I still think a few Rangers players will leave. I think Kamara will leave. Yep. I've got a funny feeling Hadji could leave as well. Sure. So. And at Barracks, I think could leave as well. So I think there could be another 3 or 4 leaving Rangers. I don't know much about if Celtic will sell any few players, but and there's rumours and all. I've heard it on some Rangers sites, obviously on YouTube. You don't know. Anybody can post it on YouTube and that, but Gerrard could come in for James Tavernier, but I don't know if that's just speculation. Rangers fans getting a wee bit carried away with themselves.
Well, he's got the money there. Michael Beale did say, didn't refer to Tavernier, but he said in general, if Steven Gerrard comes looking for players, it depends on the money. It would have to be big money. Aye. But the likes of Kamara, they'd want him to go now. Maybe Hadji as well. They're going to have to bring some money in. They're spending big.
Yeah, I mean, Kamara, Hadji, Barisic, potentially Lundstrom. We're having a year to go. There's 5 or 6 there. Davies, that you'd imagine, I'll use the word gettable. And obviously every player has got their price. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Jota at a £25 million price tag, and what a bit of business that was by Celtic. From Tavernier, if there's a genuine interest from Steven Gerrard, then I'm sure if they really wants to buy him, then they can go and buy him, because money's no object in that part of the world. But what would be a concern for me with Rangers and for Michael Beale is I don't mind a Kamara or a Barisic, or I think they're all they wouldn't be first team starters anyway now for me, but I wouldn't want to lose a Tavernier before the Champions League qualifiers. I'd want James Tavernier, because I've just spoke about mentality stuff. I think Tavernier's got that. He's had his critics, but he is one of the most, if not the most consistent Rangers player in the past 5 years or so. So I wouldn't be so keen in losing Tavernier before the Champions League qualifier. After that, there's 2 or 3 days of the window to go. Then fair enough if a big money offer comes in. But I think if you're Michael Beale, there's 5 or 6 guys that you would say to the board, no, let's try and hold off as long as we can before we think about selling any of them if we need to sell. And I think Tavernier would come into that bracket.